Okay, so welcome again, everybody, to Culikid's dinner roll class. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Sophia, who's going to introduce some things about the class as well as some upcoming programs before we get started with cooking. So, Sophia.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sophia. I'm an intern with Culikid. Before we get started cooking, there's just a few housekeeping items I want to go over. Just a little bit about Culikid. We are a nonprofit that provides healthy culinary programs for people of all abilities. Our programs are not only to teach cooking skills, but to also include healthy habits as well as social independence and motor skills. Like Kelly said, this class is being recorded. So if you don't wish to be in the recording, just turn off your camera and you'll be all set. We will also be taking some screenshots and pictures during the class to get some in-action shots. Right now, everyone is muted, but you can use the chat to communicate with us and each other. Make sure if it's on your desktop, it's in the bottom middle button. So then, or if you can't see it, just click more and then chat, and you can just type any questions you have in there and we'll answer them. You can try using it now, just say your name and where you're cooking from, and we can see all those responses. We have a bunch of upcoming classes coming up. So on December 1st, we have a s'mores hamantaschen class. On December 8th, we have a holiday breakfast for dinner class, which I will be doing. And then for our adults, we have a cookies and cocktails in-person fundraiser on December 15th in New York City. So the links for all of those I just sent in the chat, so you can use those to access signups for either the classes or for the fundraiser. If you're cooking with someone at home, ask them to take some pictures of you, send them in to us or tag us on social media. We'd love to see them. So we're just about ready to get started. So make sure you have all your ingredients together. We're going to start with the bread first. So just make sure that everyone has their oven preheated to 400 degrees.
Okay, I'm preheating mine as well. We'll get that ready. So we want to get that ready so that way whenever our bread is done, it can just go in and it's the right temperature for us. So the other thing that we want to do is spray our pan with nonstick spray. So we're using a 9x13 pan like this. And you just want to grease the sides and the bottom. So if using a spray like I am, you want to kind of like hold it out so that way it's not too close, it doesn't get stuck. So you just hold it out and move and spray at the same time. And then I'm going to get my sides. Okay. So now that's ready and we set that to the side. So before we really get started, I want to let us know how the flow of class is going to go today. So there's a couple of different times we have to let our dough rest and rise. So during those times, we're going to make our two different butters. So we're going to make our dough, pause, make a butter, form our dough into rolls, pause, and make a butter, and then put our rolls in the oven. So I'm seeing everybody in the chat. Hi, everybody. Thank you for introducing yourselves. Let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is melt our butter. So we're doing 2 tablespoons of butter. I have this half stick here, but even if you have a longer one, you just want to look for these notches on here. So 1, 2, and you can cut right through the paper and through the butter at the same time. If you're using a tub of butter, you can just scoop out 2 tablespoons. And we're going to put that in a microwave bowl and kind of a medium size because we're going to want to put, it's kind of shadowy. Sophia, if it gets too difficult to see, let me know.
Okay.
So you want to be able to fit a cup and a half of liquid in here as well. So that's why we're not doing teeny tiny bowls. So we're going to melt this first. So put this in here and I'm going to start with 15 seconds on the microwave and then check it. Okay, so my microwave's up here. You won't be able to really see, but we'll put it in. Press 1, 5 and start. Okay, if you don't have a microwave, you could also do this on the stove top. So if you have a very small saucepan, just put that on the stove top. It'll take you just a couple of seconds as well to melt your butter down. You don't want it to, brown or anything. You just want to get melted. So I need some more time. Mine looks like this. So still a chunk of butter. I'm going to do 15 more.
So like Kelly said, when we're melting our butter, we want to do 15-second intervals in the microwave just so that it doesn't get any browned at all. And then if you're doing it on the stove top, just watch it and stir it so that it doesn't get browned.
Okay. Yeah, this looks good. So you'll see mine is, there we go, melted. There's a little piece that's going to melt when I mix it.
Mine's the same way.
Yeah, so if you have just a little bit, just give it a mix and the rest of that hot butter will melt it for you. Okay.
So once everyone has their butter melted, let's give a thumbs up, and then that way we can know that we're all set to go on. All right, I see a few thumbs up so far. That's great.
Okay, for anybody who just joined, what we've done so far is just melted our butter. So we've just melted 2 tablespoons of butter. No problem for joining late. So I think that was mostly everybody who I can see on this screen. And then if I do move forward before you're ready, you can just let us know in the chat or by unmuting or by waving me down, and I'll pause for you. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next step, which is adding 1 cup of water to our butter. So I'm using this measuring spoon. I'm finding the 1 cup line, and I'm going to fill it right to there, right from my sink. But I'm going to do it nice and slow and be at eye level. I'm behind the computer, so I just wanted to tell you all that before I disappeared. All right, so go ahead and measure 1 cup of water. And it can be room temperature. Okay. So I've got it right to the line, and I'm pouring in the 1 cup of water. I'm going to just give it a mix as much as you can combine butter and water. Okay, and the next one we're going to do is our milk, but I want to just pause and see how everybody's doing. Give me a thumbs up when you have your water in with your butter. Thanks, Joy and Theodore. Kat, I think Win. Awesome. Okay, I see some in the chat too. Thank you. See some mixing going on. Okay, so we're going to use the same measuring cup. If you were using a liquid measuring cup like mine, if you were using the cups, then you'll need a different one. We're going to do ½ a cup of milk. So now I can set it on my counter because it's not going right from my faucet. I'm finding my ½ cup line down at eye level with this. Open up my milk.
So we do have one question in the chat. We're asking if we add the water and the butter to the main mixing bowl. So right now, all we have is the butter and the water, and we're going to add the milk into this bowl. I don't think this is going to be our main mixing bowl. We'll eventually add these ingredients to our dry ingredients. So we just need 2 separate bowls right now. One will have the butter, the water, and the milk.
Yep. And it should be a microwave safe bowl. So that's why we're not doing it directly. And for me, at least, this is a plastic bowl that is not microwave safe. So this is what I'm going to mix all of my ingredients in later. But we're going to not only have to microwave our melted butter, but also all the ingredients we're putting in there. So we need a microwave safe bowl. Everything is going in together though in this bowl. Okay, so the butter, a cup of water, and now I'm doing my ½ cup of milk. Okay, ½ a cup, pour it in. And we're done with this for now. No, I think we're done with that. Okay. The last ingredient that's going to go in. Awesome. Thank you, Joshy, for the thumbs up. Everybody got milk in? Yep. Bunch of thumbs up.
Perfect. Bunch of thumbs up.
Thanks, everyone. We're going to do honey. So we want to add a little bit of sweetness to our bread. So we're doing 2 tablespoons of honey. So there's a little bit of a trick if you want to try this. If not, you can just scoop it out. So you can take your tablespoon and actually give it a little spray with your nonstick. And that will help the honey just come right out. So we got to do this 2 times. And so even if you don't want to try it, you can watch mine to see if you want to try this trick next time. Okay. And that poured out really nice and easy. Look at that. So if you didn't do that, you'll just have to scoop it out with a clean finger or a spoon. So we're doing 1 and then 2. Okay, and in we go again. Get the rest out. Okay, we will need to use that tablespoon again, so you can rinse that out when you have a chance. And we're gonna mix our mixture together. So I just have a fork here. It's a little bit easier, I think, to kind of mix the honey into the liquid. So you have the honey kind of at the bottom, so we're trying to just combine. Being careful not to splash, so I'm just making little quick circles, but not so much that I'm going to splash my liquid. Okay. Does everybody have all ingredients in the bowl? I see some people still working and getting honey in. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Cooper and Joy. Marianne, Rayanne. Okay, and so if you have all your honey in, make sure it's all mixed up. And we can all do this in intervals because we're going to have a little bit of a waiting period. We're going to put this back in our microwave. This time it's going to be for 1 minute. All right, okay. So 1 minute, and then we're going to check the temperature if we have a thermometer. And we might have to go back in again at 15-second intervals. Being super careful not to spill. Okay, 1 minute, start. Okay. So anybody who was still mixing honey can catch up to us, no problem, because we're just waiting for our stuff in the microwave. Anybody who is in the microwave, you can tidy up your stations a little bit. We will use the cooking spray 1 more time. And we will also use our honey a little bit later as well. I'm gonna put my milk away though. Oh, yeah, good question, Esther. So yeah, the bowl in the microwave has melted butter, water, milk, and honey. Awesome. Okay, which is almost all of our ingredients for our bread. Once that we have our mixture out and it's the right temperature, we have 3 more ingredients left. I almost forgot about our salt. I'm not sure if everybody has a thermometer, but if not, we can go by the temperature of mine for how long it should be in there. But if you have a thermometer, you can check with me. We are looking for our mixture to be 110 degrees Fahrenheit. If we have any people who are not in the United States, then you have to do a quick conversion. Okay, so mine is, okay, so it's a little bit over actually. So it's 116. So a minute should be plenty, I think, if you have the same power microwave as mine. Everybody's might be slightly different, but if you don't have a thermometer, you can go by mine, which was just the 1 minute. If you do have a thermometer and it's not at 110, you can do 15 seconds at a time until you get to 110. Okay, I know that we're not necessarily all completely together, but then just so I can tidy up my station a little bit, I'm going to then put my mixture that's the right temperature into the big bowl we're going to be using. I'm going to use this to scrape. Okay, so when you have done that, when you've microwaved, it's the right temperature, and you've put your mixture into your larger bowl, then give us a thumbs up. And then Sophia, let me know.
Joshy, I see your thumbs up. Joy, great. Kat, thank you. Perfect. Marianne's all set.
Great, great, great. And don't forget that we're going to need to use this tablespoon again. So if you're waiting and you need to clean it, go ahead and do that, because we're going to use it next.
All right, I think we're waiting on just a few more thumbs up, and then we should be all set to keep going.
Awesome.
Esther, I see you. When
this is Esther's son.
hello, how are you?
Say fun?
Yep. He doesn't want me to take the credit.
Awesome. I'm glad you're having fun and doing it by yourself. That's awesome. It seemed like a lot of thumbs up to me. Are we waiting for anybody?
Good.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is add our yeast. So that's a super important ingredient for our bread. The yeast is what makes it rise. Okay. So I have this block of yeast, but you might have a packet. Either way, we need a tablespoon. If you have packets, they usually come, I think, in a 1/4 ounce, and they're less than a tablespoon. So you would need 2, and you need to measure it out. So we're going to open up our yeast, whatever form that comes in. Mine's a little bit broken up.
So Kelly, we do have some people using instant yeast. Is there different directions for that, or are we all following the same thing?
We're all following the same thing. The first time I made this was with instant yeast.
Okay, so Theodore, you were all set to follow the same directions, even though you guys are using instant yeast.
So we're getting a tablespoon, and I'm going to try to get this out. Putting it into our mixture. So the reason that we wanted that temperature is for our yeast. So if it's much hotter than 110, it might kill the yeast, which means it won't activate and rise. And if it's much cooler, it again won't activate it. So we've put it in, and I'm just going to give it a mix again with a fork, because you kind of need like a whisking kind of mixture. So you might see it still on top, like clumped together, or sunk at the bottom, clumped together. We just don't want it to be all like all clumped up. Okay. So this is how mine looks. If you're using the packet of instant yeast, it might look a little bit different because it would have stayed on top. That's fine. You just want it to not see a lot of yeast, to see a lot of clumps. So we're going to let that sit for a couple of minutes, so that way it can it can activate. Okay, in the meantime, we can measure our flour. The other thing that we want to do is make sure our surface is clean. So after we add our flour, we're going to be kneading our bread. I'm going to do this directly on my countertop. So you're going to make sure your countertop or your cutting board, it's easiest to just do it on the countertop so it doesn't slip, is clean, disinfected, all of that. So that way you can knead it without getting, you know, anything you don't want in it. So while this rises, or sorry, it's not dough yet, while it's sitting there and activating, clean up your surface, get yourself a surface that you can knead on. And then we're going to do two other things while we're waiting, which is we need another bowl. So if you don't have one, once we get our dough out of the bowl, you can use that. And so somebody will just need to wash it while somebody else is kneading it. Okay, so just for ease and quickness, I'm going to use another bowl, and we're going to grease this as well. So I'm going to use my nonstick cooking spray again. You could also do a light oil and kind of rub it around the inside of that, so that way our dough doesn't stick. Okay. So same action. So I'm holding my bowl up slightly and moving it and spraying it at the same time. Okay. It's all covered. We're setting it to the side. Now we are done with our spray, so you can put that away. And one more thing is that we're going to cover it with a damp towel. I like to just use a towel because you can just throw it in the wash. You don't have to create more trash, but you could also use paper towels. So I'm going to just wet this lightly and squeeze it all out. It shouldn't be dripping. It should just be damp. Okay, so we're going to do that as well. Okay. So just set those to the side. We will use them once our dough is done. Okay. We'll bring our
Kelly,
bowl.
quick question.
Yes.
So we have the microwave bowl and the yeast getting activated. We've cleaned our surface. And what did you say to do now?
So I'm using another bowl that's going to be where the dough goes. If you have another bowl, then to grease it with nonstick spray or with oil.
Yes. And then after that?
And then to wet a towel so it's damp.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
you're going to, yeah, no problem. We're going to use this to cover up our dough once it's sitting in the bowl. I'm just going to give everybody just a minute since we just had some questions. But for anybody who is ready, you can start thinking about your next step, which means we're going to have our bowl with our yeast mixture in front of us. And we're going to get our flour and our measuring cups. And I think I'm going to do a spoon as well to make it easier to get my flour instead of scooping it. Okay, so when you are ready for flour, give me a thumbs up when you're ready to measure your flour in. Wynn, thank you. Wenna, awesome. Theodore, Cooper, Rayanne. Wow, you guys are so speedy. Okay. And Joey, Kat, Judy, so many thumbs up. What about you, Joshy? Joshy, are you ready for flour or you need more time? Awesome. I think that was everybody who I can see. Again, if you need more time, just tell me to slow down. We're going to start off with 3.5 cups of flour. So the recipe does, you'll see, call for more. And when I made it the first time, I did end up using more. But everybody's mixtures might be slightly different with the liquid content to the flour. So we start out with 3.5, just so it doesn't get too dry. We can always add more, but you can't take away. So I am going to scoop some of this flour into my 1 cup measuring cup. And when I get some on the counter, I don't really mind because I'm going to put a bunch of flour on my counter in a little bit to knead it. So we're just scooping it all the way to the top. Okay, and then I'm going to use the back of my spoon to flatten it out and scoop the extra into the bag. Then when I have 1 cup of flour, I'm going to put it into my bowl. So we're going to do 1, and then the next cup will be 2. And flatten it across the top. And put that in the bowl too. Now I'm on
Kelly,
cup 3.
is this the greased bowl, right? Not the bowl with the liquid.
The bowl with the liquid.
Oh, okay.
If you did already, that's okay. Just kind of like dump it back into this one, then just rinse out the grease bowl and grease it again.
Can I put the liquid into flour?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So we're combining everything. So all of our liquid and flour are coming together to form our dough. We just have our grease bowl prepared for when our dough is done. We're gonna have some sticky doughy hands soon.
Everyone looks like they're doing a great job measuring out the flour.
Awesome. That is my cup 3. And now I just need 1/2 cup. Okay, and this one I can scoop a little bit easier. Scoop, flatten, and pour in. Okay, when you have 3.5 cups of flour in your bowl, can you give us a thumbs up?
Awesome, I see a bunch.
You have a question, Rayanne? I see hands up too, or maybe that was the wrong button. Maybe it was the wrong button.
What was a mistake?
Okay, no worries. I saw the thumbs up as well, so glad you're ready.
I think we got almost all thumbs up. So if anyone is not ready yet, just let us know. Otherwise, we'll go on to the next step.
Great. So I'm going to start by just putting a little bit more flour onto my surface. So that way it's ready for me. And then I'm going to start by giving it a mix first because it's pretty wet under there. I'm going to give it a mix with a spoon first, and then I'm going to get in there with my hands. So once that it's kind of come together just a little bit more, but needs some help. So right now we're still liquid and flour. And I'm keeping my flour close by because remember, I think that we're going to need more to be added to this mixture. We just don't know exactly how much, but we have it ready. So actually, before I start touching this dough, I'm gonna grab my 1/4 cup. Just a scoop to have the flour ready. You don't need anything special, but just something to scoop the flour out if you need more. All right, mine's coming together. It's becoming dough-like, so I'm gonna get in here with my hands now. So I'm gonna start in the bowl because I wanna get everything unstuck from the sides. Oh, I forgot our salt. Sophia, do you think I can add the salt once it's already a dough?
Yeah, I don't think that should be an issue. I think that's fine to add it.
I'm sorry, everybody. Salt. We want to add salt so it brings out the nice, delicious flavor. So it's a teaspoon of salt. Once I have clean hands, I'm just going to measure a teaspoon and sprinkle it over the dough as much as I can, and then get back to kneading. I'm really sorry about that. I tried really hard for us to have clean hands when we needed them. Okay, I'm just going to have to do that later. Okay. Teaspoon, sprinkle as much as I can so it's not all in one clump, and then get back in there with my hands.
So if you guys didn't add in the salt, just make sure you sprinkle that on top before you keep mixing, and then just go ahead and keep kneading in the bowl.
Okay. And I'm taking mine out now. I have most of my dough has come together. There's like a little bit left on the sides I'm trying to get. So it's mostly clean though. I have my dough now on my counter. And now comes the part where we're going to knead, which is really fun. So we're going to get this to all come together. So I'm going to try to describe what I'm doing with my hands, but it's really just easiest probably to watch. So I'm kind of like folding it. So I'm taking it from the front and pushing it into the back. And then I'm taking this part and I'm folding it and pushing. I'm folding it and pushing. Okay, so we're just kind of like helping it all come together. It's still pretty sticky. So we're gonna see, will it come together? Or do we need more flour? Mine needs more flour. I'm getting stuck to the counter too. So I'm taking a scoop more flour. See a question in the chat that says, when would we have added the salt? Which should have gone in with the flour before we started mixing. Okay, so I sprinkled on some more flour. That's gonna help this. Okay, so we want to do this for about 5 minutes. I'm also seeing the time, and I think it is highly likely that we will go until at least 12:15. So if anybody has to leave us beforehand, you'll have the recipe so that way you can make it on your own, or you can cook ahead while we make the butters or whatever works for you. But I think that we should plan to, if you can, stay with us until at least 12:15. Okay, so this is now, doesn't seem quite so sticky. So I think I have probably enough flour now. There's a chance I might have to do a little bit more, but we're gonna still keep kneading it for a couple more minutes. You just wanna keep working it with your hands, right? So you're touching all different surfaces of the dough, and then, you know, the dough is getting pushed together. Oh, mine did become a little bit sticky, so I'm gonna do just a tiny bit more flour. You don't want it to be so sticky to the touch that you got your fingers stuck like this. When your dough has enough flour, is the right consistency, it should be like kind of how it was before, like how I can hold it in my hands like this, but not so that you get it stuck to your fingers like that. This is kind of a tricky part, and it's subjective, which means, you know, everybody's might be a little bit different, and you have to make some judgments for your own self. So if you have questions, especially about this step, please let us know.
So like Kelly was saying, if your dough is sticking to your fingers a little bit, that's when you would want to add some flour. Make sure to add a little bit at a time so that it doesn't dry out. And then once you reach that consistency where you can like hold it in between two hands and nothing sticks to you, you should be all set.
Yep, so mine is finally doing that. And I want to get it to be kind of like all smooth. So I'm trying to really work it now. So this is a great workout if you want. So really get in there. Although just kind of awesome. It's flour. So we'll see. We'll see. I might need a little bit more. Yep, a little bit sticky. You see some people working their dough. It looks awesome. This is one of the most fun things. And I think you guys will really like the way it tastes afterwards too. So if anybody's making these for Thanksgiving, bread is, you know, super easy to freeze and defrost. So you can freeze them so they'll be nice and fresh. And then at Thanksgiving, everybody will be so impressed that you made homemade dinner rolls. Okay, so I think my dough is done. It feels good. It's coming together nice and smooth. I'm just giving it a couple more kneads, really intentional to try to, you know, get it to all come together. Okay, so this is how my dough looks. You see, like it has a little bit of tackiness to it, but it's not getting stuck to my hands. I can keep it all together in this ball. So when you are done, when you think that yours is the right consistency and it looks kind of similar to this, not too dry, not too wet and sticky, form it into a ball and put it into your greased bowl. Okay. And we want to let it rise, so we don't want to touch it too much now. So we'll put it to the side. Everybody who's still working, go ahead and keep working. Anybody who is done, you probably have a big mess to clean up like I do, unless you're lucky enough to have multiple counters. But I'm going to need to do some cleaning up. I need to wash my hands. I need to wash my counters so that way I can do the next steps. So that's what you can be doing. Keep kneading your dough or start cleaning up and getting ready for what's next. Let us know if you have any questions.
I see everyone's dough starting to come together. This is looking really good.
And now that I don't have doughy hands, you can also cover your bowls with that damp towel we had ready. Okay, so dough set to the side, damp towel, clean up.
Is this where we put it in the greased bowl?
Yes.
Thank you.
We don't need our flour anymore, but we will use our salt again. Oops. Okay, when you're ready for what's next, which means your dough is in your greased bowl, covered with your damp towel, and you've wiped off your counter, give us a thumbs up. Nice, Joshy.
Judy's all set. Brianne. Kat, I see your thumbs up. Marianne.
Okay, anybody still working on their dough that might have any questions or want us to take a look, let us know. I see some doughs getting covered and all of that.
Joey, I see your thumbs up. For those still working, no worries.
This one is kind of a messy kitchen activity, so you might have to do some extra cleaning afterwards too. Okay, again, anybody waiting, make sure to clean up, but you can also start gathering your ingredients for the next steps. So we're done with our bread ingredients, but this is the part where we're going to let our bread rest, our dough rest rather.
Theodore, do you have a question? Joe, just waving. Hello. You all set? All right, you still need time. No worries. Keep working on that dough.
Yep. So our dough, I mean, our butter recipe, I think starts with our herbed butter, but I think we're going to start with our orange honey butter. I'm still waiting. We're not going on to the next steps. I'm just letting everybody know who is looking for something to do that you can get your ingredients ready for your orange honey butter. Which means butter, orange, honey, and we're going to add a pinch of salt to that. So grab your salt.
Are we using a melting microwave bowl this time also?
It doesn't have to be a microwave this time. So as long as your butter is soft, if you need to soften it a little bit, then you can microwave your butter slightly, but it shouldn't be melted.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, so this is a good consistency. So you want to get close to this. So it's still solid butter, but if I press in, you see that it made a dent. So that's nice and soft. You can do it any consistency really, and then it will re-solidify. If it's harder than that, it might be hard to mix. But if you do have harder butter, you can also use an electric mixer. You can use an electric mixer either way and it'll get it fluffy, but we're going to just do this by hand. Does anybody need us to wait before moving on to butter? Anybody? Hands up or wave if you need a little bit more time. Okay, I don't think I saw any, so we're gonna get started. Actually, what I'm gonna do, since I'm using one full stick of butter right here between my two, is I actually have both of my bowls ready. So when I cut it in half, I'm gonna put half in one bowl and half in the other. You can do that as well, or you can just set it to the side. Mine's already so mushy. So again, you're gonna use your little tabs on here, the little notches that tell you the tablespoons. If you're using a stick, again, so you could measure it out too. If you're using a stick, you want to count 4 tablespoons in right in the center and slice through. Again, can slice through right through that paper. And then put 4 tablespoons into one bowl and 4 tablespoons into another bowl. set one of those aside because we'll do that later and just work with this one. Okay. Okay. Wait a second. Anybody need more time? Hands up if you need more time. Okay, so then we're going to zest some orange into the bowl. We're going to just guess, which means we're going to look at it in the bowl and see if it's about the right amount instead of measuring it out. That's a little bit easier and it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. So we need 1 teaspoon of orange zest. So I do sometimes, if I'm not sure what that means, I'll sometimes get a teaspoon out and have it next to me so I can visualize how much I'm looking for. I'm using this zester. You can use the fine side of your grater, putting it right over the bowl, and I'm going to just zest until I think I have about a teaspoon. So I'm zesting, I'm being really careful because this is sharp. So my fingers are far away from that. I am moving it back and forth and then also moving the orange at the same time. So it's a lot to think about. One hand is holding this steady. This hand is being careful while also moving back and forth and rolling the orange around kind of.
Joey and Esther, I see your orange zest. That looks perfect.
Thanks.
Okay. So that looks like about a teaspoon to me. It ended up being about half of an orange, but oranges are all different sizes. So just do it until you have about a teaspoon or however much you want.
Sorry, what's the purpose for this?
What's the question?
What's the purpose for this? This is for bread? No.
This is for the orange honey butter recipe.
That's another one, right? It's not
What was that?
related. That's not related to bread.
Correct. It's just something to accompany it. So if this isn't something you want to make, you can skip it. It's not going into the bread.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. So we're just making 2 different flavored butters that you can have with your bread or other items. So this one is a little sweeter. The other one will be more savory. So this could be good on your dinner roll, but you could also use it on things like pancakes and waffles, scones, that kind of thing. So this is what we should be up to now, butter and orange zest. Can I have a thumbs up when you're done with your orange zest?
Can I use lemon zest?
Yeah, I think so. So you'll have lemon honey butter. That sounds yummy, for sure.
All right, I see a bunch of thumbs up.
Thanks, Joshy. Thanks, everybody. I think we might
We're
still
almost
have,
there.
yeah. Okay, I actually am gonna grab my cooking spray again, just for my little honey trick to make it a little bit easier. So I'm gonna move on to the honey. There's plenty of time for you to all catch up though. So if anybody's not on this step, don't worry. So honey, I'm going to use half a tablespoon. So that's half of a large TBSP. Or if you don't have a half tablespoon measuring spoon, it's equivalent to 1.5 teaspoons. Don't get confused. Ask us to repeat it if you need it. You're looking for half a tablespoon. If you need the conversion to teaspoons, let me know.
I just put that in the chat as well if anyone needs teaspoon measurements.
Awesome. Okay, and into the butter. And how we're all doing. The last thing is just going to be a pinch of salt. Let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll mix. And then we'll make sure everybody's all caught up at that point. So pinch of salt and then mix it together. So to do a pinch of salt, I've poured some into my hand, and then I'm taking 3 fingers, my thumb, pointer, and middle finger, and I'm grabbing all the salt I can from those 3 and sprinkling it in. The rest of it that's in my hand can just get thrown out. All right. Now we will mix. I'm going to use a fork because it will kind of be easier to mash it, whatever you want to do. So I'm mashing it and I'm going to now mix it around. I'm using my other hand to stabilize it, to stabilize the bowl. Okay. Nice and easy to mix because my butter was so soft.
If your butter's a little hard to mix, like Kelly said, you could use an electric mixer if you have, or what you could do also is just let it sit a little bit and then that'll help the butter soften even more. And then once you see that it's reached a softer consistency, you could just mix it then.
For sure. So you want it to all look the same. So I'm trying to figure out these shadows. So you want it to all look the same. So I have my orange zest mixed throughout. It's all the same color because the honey and the butter have combined. So mine is good. So in the recipe, it tells you how you can roll it up into a log and re-refrigerate it, but we are going to skip that for now. If we have time at the end, I can show you. Because you could also serve it from here. You could scoop this into a bowl and then scoop it out rather than slicing it from a log. So probably a smaller bowl. But I'm going to set this to the side for now, and then we can again do that rolling demo if we have time. Okay, setting things to the side. We are multitasking today, like I said, so we're going from dough to butter, dough to butter. So we're getting ready when we're done with our butters, start thinking about our dough again. Okay, I'm giving you all a few more seconds to finish up your butter. Again, you can save it to the side. Awesome. I see the note in the chat. Joey anticipates his relatives enjoying this. Awesome. I think so too. I think if you guys share this with some friends, family, neighbors, whoever, I think they'll really enjoy this. I'm going to start getting a setup for the next step. I don't want anybody to feel rushed. So if you do feel that way, please let me know. The next step is going to be cutting our dough into our rolls. So we need our dough close by, but I'm also going to grab a cutting board and a knife. And we also want our baking tray close by again, because we're going to cut, roll them, put them in that tray, okay?
Can you
Can I
show us
see-
your knife, Kelly, so we know we have all kinds of knives here?
Yeah, I always default to my chef's knife, which looks like this. And for this, I like this one because it's good to have it be at least the length of the dough. So it will go through in one cut. Okay. Sorry if I missed any thumbs up. Is anybody need more time before we do dough? Hands up if you need more time. Okay, I see some more thumbs up. I think we're ready. All right, so I'm going to show you my station again. So I'm taking my towel off. I still need this because we're going to cover it again for our next step, and see how it's gotten bigger. Does everybody else see that their dough got bigger? Great job, everybody. I saw Cooper's. Nice. All right, so we're going to just turn it out. Nice. Turn it out onto the cutting board. It's a little bit sticky. That's okay. Okay. So we are going to try to cut this into 15 equal pieces. So we're looking to do 15 pieces in this tray. Okay, so I will tell you, the first time I did this, I ended up with more than 15, but we want at least 15. So I'm going to do, trying to see if I can reshape this. So basically, if we could just do some math really quick, we could see how we could cut this, right? So it's going to go into the tray. You can't see my tray, but it's going to go 5 across and 3 down. So let's see if we can just cut that the same way. Okay, so that means we need to do 4 cuts. So I'm kind of scoring it first to see where I want to cut it. No, that's still 3. Okay, so you want to do 4 cuts the long way in order to get 5, right? And then you want to do 3 cuts. I'm sorry. Sorry if this is confusing because I keep making mistakes. You want to do 2 cuts in order to get 3 rows. And you want them to be as equal as possible. Okay, so I scored them. I'm going to cut them. If they're not exactly even, that's okay. Sorry about that. Move that over. So this might be a weird consistency to cut through. This might be new. Just kind of go back and forth, like lift up and then cut back down so your knife doesn't get stuck. Whoops. Okay, and then I'm going to do my okay, so I did my cuts and I can see like this side looks a lot bigger to me. So I'm just going to trim this. Maybe I'll end up with 1 extra. Okay. That was a little math for us. Cooking has math involved at times. And we're going to then take it and take each piece and roll it in your hands into a dinner roll shape, which is just a little sphere. I want to roll it up because I want to try to get rid of the seams as much as possible, but it's also no worries. My dough is much stickier than the first time I did this, so I'm actually going to get a little bit of flour from my hands, so that way my hands don't keep getting stuck in the dough. Yep, a little sticky. Okay. And then once that I take care of my sticky hands, I'm going to show you how I'm putting them into the into the pan.
Also, if anyone did not have recipes, I just added the links to the recipe for the butters and for the dinner rolls. If you guys did not have them they're in the chat. So the links to both of those are in the chat if you needed them.
Awesome. That way you can reference them immediately, but I will also send those, or Sophia will send those on Tuesday. Okay, so I want to show you how we're putting these in the pan. So far, I just have 1. I have some space here and here on the sides. And we're gonna leave some space in between the rolls. They're gonna grow again a little bit. So they're gonna grow a little bit together. And then when they bake, they're gonna grow a little bit and bake together. So when they come out of the oven, they very well likely be touching at that point, and you can just pull them apart. So we wanna have space right now between the edge of the pan and the next roll we're putting in, okay? So we're just continuing to pick up our pieces and roll them into our dinner roll shape.
Is it okay? I don't grease the pan, but I put all the parchment paper.
I think that should be okay. I've never baked them like that, but I think that would work.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So again, if you have the same size pan as me, so that's 9 by 13 inches, you want to line them up 5 in each row and then 3 rows in the pan. So 5, 5, 5. You might be ahead of me since I had to stop to, fix my flour and hand situation. If we got yours all in the pan before I get there, you just want to cover it with a towel again, with your damp towel. If you have a scale, you could be also making sure they're all perfectly even by weighing them in a scale. But we're just gonna go by sight and feel.
We just had a great question in the chat. Someone asked if they could be made in advance and refrigerated or frozen. You could absolutely make these in advance and then freeze the rolls. And then to defrost them, you could just throw them back in the oven for a few minutes to get them nice and warm again. And then you're all set to have them.
Yep, I have done them, when I had made the first batch. So I froze a bunch, and I've just even been like microwaving them too for a couple of seconds to defrost. That's after having baked them. I would think that you could also potentially freeze the dough, just like kind of like frozen pizza dough is. So if you wanted to freeze the dough, I would still like freeze them all like they are in this pan. So that way they're all separate. Once they're frozen, then you could throw them into a bag or Tupperware. So that way they don't all stick together. Sorry, I just saw that the question also included refrigerated or frozen. I'm not sure if the question was refrigerated while they're raw, but I wouldn't do that because that might affect the way that the dough rises. So I would either freeze it raw or cook it and then refrigerate or freeze. Okay, I've got 4 more left to roll. If you are ahead of me again, we want to let them rest before they're going in. So just cover them up with the towel and then get the ingredients ready, clean up your station and get your ingredients ready for the next butter. Okay. If anybody has to go and doesn't want to see the next butter, what you want to do is just let this rest for 15 more minutes and then bake. I forget the exact amount. Sophia, can you check that to see how long they're baking for?
Yes. We're going to bake for 15 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you. And then the very last step is once you take them out, you don't completely have to do this, but I did it to make it tasty, is brush it with a little bit of melted butter. So either way, we're not going to do that together because we're not going to stay on while they bake. So you can brush them with a little bit of melted butter after they bake.
Kelly, can you just put your pan into the camera so everyone can see how the rolls are looking in and resting in the pan?
Yep. So, and you'll see also mine are not completely equal sizes. We did our best. So they are 5 by 3, and there is room between them, but you'll see there's not a ton of room. There's room between the pan, there's room between the rolls. And then when they bake, what should happen is they should all be touching, and it'll be those like kind of dinner rolls that you really like pull apart and they have those like soft edges. So that's what will happen when they bake. Okay, gonna wash my hands, cover this, clear my station. When you are ready, when you have done all those things as well and you're ready for the next butter, give a thumbs up, and I'm going to be out of frame. So Sophia, just keep track of that, please.
And Kat. Cooper, I see your thumbs up. Joey, Joshy, I see both of yours. Marianne, I see yours. Joy, I see yours.
And I'm just going to also rinse my knife because we're going to cut some herbs really quickly. So if you use the same knife that you want to use for your herbs that you use for your dough, you should go ahead and wash that as well.
It looks like everyone's just about ready. If anyone is still working, just let us know. Judy, I see your question in the chat. The picture in the recipe, it was just a picture. So we're only doing the herb butter and the orange honey butter. There's definitely a bunch more flavors of butter that you can make if you wanted to look on Google. You could definitely find so many. I know my family has made a cranberry butter before, which is really good.
Ooh.
And any butter like this, you would probably follow the same sort of recipe. It would just be whatever you add in would be different. So you would still need your softened butter, a little bit of salt, and then anything else that you added in would just change based on the flavor.
Yeah, and I think the one in the picture is like a cinnamon butter. So I think I included the link at the bottom of the recipe so that way you could check out the other flavor combinations. The one in the middle is the herb butter with the paprika. So you could also make that with no paprika, which is what I'm going to do today. So it's optional if you want to add some paprika or smoked paprika for some additional flavor. I am using for my herbs, I have parsley and thyme. So if you are using these fresh herbs as well, you want to make sure that they are rinsed. So if you haven't done that, you can do that. And then we are going to use a tablespoon combined of the herbs. So again, we're going to just go by sight. And when we feel like we have about a tablespoon.
Someone asked if we can, if you can use dry herbs. That's fine. You can use dry herbs as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I hadn't done that before, but I figured like probably the butter will soften the herbs enough that it's palatable, right?
Yes.
So whatever herbs you have, we're gonna start picking off the leaves. So I'm gonna aim for a half a tablespoon of the parsley, and I'm gonna aim for half a tablespoon of the thyme. So we're just pulling them off, and then we're gonna give them a chop once we have what we need. Okay, that seems like good for me. You want to have your butter also close by, so that way when we're done chopping, you can throw it in there. And then especially for the thyme or rosemary, they have really thicker stems. So some people will, you know, just chop up the stems from their things like parsley and stuff. But thyme and especially rosemary has like those really thick stems. So you want to just pull off the leaves and get the good parts. Thyme is a little bit more time consuming than the parsley, but if you can kind of like pull them down. So by that, I mean like hold it at the top and then pull your fingers just slowly down and it will pull off all of those leaves for you. So if you can, that makes it a little bit faster. Okay, after this sprig, we're going to chop it. So once you have the herbs that you're using, you can go ahead and chop. If you haven't chopped herbs before, I can show you how. You might have chopped other things in our class that uses our bear claw method, but we kind of use a slightly different when we're chopping herbs. We're going to kind of do a rocking method. Okay. I'm trying to see what you can all see. Okay. So usually when we're cutting something, we use our bear claw and we try to hold it down. Our herbs are really small, so it's hard to really hold them. So instead, we're going to have flat hand on top, and we're holding our knife correctly with the pinch at the blade. We have flat hand on top, making sure our fingers don't drop down to the cutting board, and we're going to go back and forth. Okay, so we're holding it down and we're just kind of rocking it. The tip of the knife is staying kind of on the cutting board and we're controlling what it's doing with our hand. I'm trying to make sure you guys can see that. What if I go like this? I'm going to turn a little bit. Is that a little bit of a better angle? Okay, and then put it back into a pile and just do it again. I think for this, I kind of want them to be kind of small, but whenever you feel like you have the right size for you, add it to your butter. Okay, so we have them nice and minced up. I have a couple of big pieces here. So when you have them nice and chopped like this, you can put it into your butter. Be a little bit more than a tablespoon, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. Okay. Is everybody ready for the next steps? Thanks, Cooper.
See a bunch of thumbs up.
Okay. I think we will move on then. So the next thing is going to be salt and pepper. We're going to do the same measurement for both of them. It's a 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, so that's 1/4. I'm going to start with my pepper. So we scoop it, make sure it's nice and level like that, and sprinkle it into our butter. Same measurement of the salt. So I don't even have to wash this because I'm just going to pour right in there. If this is too heavy, it comes out too quick, you can pour your salt into a small bowl and then scoop from there. If you're cranking pepper or salt, just give it like 3 cranks, depends on how much comes out. That's what mine looks like. This is because I'm using unsalted butter, by the way. So if you're using salted, you don't need to add salt. You can taste it and maybe add a pinch if you think it needs more. But this is unsalted, so that way we control all the spices. Here we go. We're going to mix it again. We're going to use a fork and mash it up and mix it together. Mine looks nice and herby. If you taste it and you're like, whoa, that's way too much, you can always add more butter. I think this is going to be so yummy. Okay, so there you go. And then there was the paprika. I see there's a question about that as well. So if you're using paprika, you can add that now. I just want to double check. It's 1/2 teaspoon, either smoked or sweet paprika. And the question is, can you omit pepper if you're using paprika? Yes, and you can also taste it and see if you want pepper and add it. So you can do kind of one at a time, mix, taste, see what you think, add more if you want. But you definitely can't take away. So you can definitely start out that way with omitting it. Okay, yeah.
I have a question. How to eat that? Just eat this, don't put anything else?
Yeah, so I would put this, like, this would be perfect for the dinner roll. So this butter, you know, on the rolls or another type of bread. This is the more savory route. So the first one, it could be on sweet things too, like pancakes and stuff like that. This would just be when your rolls are ready, you can butter it with that to give it a little bit more flavor than just typical butter.
Oh, I see. And our bread is just one type, this is another type of butter, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
I see. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so our butter is done. We are going to not do the rolling, but if you wanted to, especially if you visit that link at the bottom of the recipe, it will show you in more detail, but you could just put the butter into, like, on a piece of parchment paper and then roll the parchment paper until it's a log. I think instead of that, I'm actually going to just use like a little container like this, scoop my butter in here and then serve it from here for the rolls when they're ready. Either one works. Is everybody ready? Is done with their butter and ready to put rolls in the oven? Thumbs up. Thanks, Cooper. Joy, Kat, Joey.
We only did the sweet butter, so we are ready.
Okay, great. I think that was mostly everyone. If anyone needs more time, that's okay. You can just watch and then do it at the end. But I wanted to see if we could get most people on the same page. What? Right now?
Exciting.
Right now, it just came out. He wanted to tell you.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. We just lost a tooth, everybody. Well, when you're back from all the excitement, you can do this step on your own, but for everybody else, we can get our rolls in. So we need some oven mitts. We want to be nice and safe. We're going to take our towels off. Ooh, nice. You'll see that when they've gotten bigger in the rising process, now a lot of mine are already touching.
Wow, sorry, I didn't say my bowl dried. I don't know why.
Sorry?
I didn't say my bowl rising. That's
Oh, they didn't rise?
yeah.
That's
No.
okay. They don't have to rise too much. I mean, mine got slightly bigger. But I don't think they did the first time I made it. So you can, if you want to wait, you can wait another 10 minutes if you want, or you can just put them in and see how they come out.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, so we've got our oven mitts on for our oven safety. We're ready to go in. So I'm opening the oven all the way down, picking up my rolls and putting them in. Oven is closed. And then we need to get a timer. So it's 15 minutes, right?
Yes, 15 minutes.
So we've got a 15-minute timer on. We're going to keep a close eye. We want them to be slightly golden brown on the bottom and the top to know when they're cooked through. So you're going to all do that part on your own. When your timers go off, you will use your oven mitts to take them out and then let them cool down for a little bit. And then you can brush the top with some melted butter. It gives it a little bit of a nicer look, a little bit more flavor. And then when you serve it, you can have one of your flavored butters or plain butters or just plain. Does anybody have any questions about finishing the recipe, eating, storing, anything? You can also freeze your butter. Butter freezes really well. So if you wanted to freeze that, you can do that as well. And either way, you want to probably get it back in the fridge for a couple hours so it can solidify a little bit more.
I wanted to add into the butters, if you have leftover butter, especially the herb butter, that can be great to use in cooking. So if you're sauteing vegetables or if you're cooking chicken or meat or anything, you can use that butter to cook what you're cooking in the pan. So then you have a little bit of flavor coming from that butter as well. So it does a really good job giving flavor to food.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good point, especially if it's something that already calls for that. Like if you need something with butter and parsley and stuff anyway, you already have that. So just go ahead and use it. Okay, question about the links, I guess. So maybe the links were a little confusing. I'll send the recipes as attachments as well. So if you didn't get them, you'll get them again. So what I'll do is I'll actually send that after this class so everybody has them. So that way you can make sure you can finish it correctly. And then Sophia will send a follow-up email on Tuesday with some additional information, including the links we've sent in the chat so you can join us for some future programs. Yeah, so I think that's it. Does anybody have any final questions? Okay. All right, well, great job, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I know we went a little bit over the anticipated time, but hopefully when you taste your rolls and your butter, you'll think it's worth it. So send us those pictures and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Bye. Thanks for baking with us. We'll see you soon.